Welcome to the Athletics Up North podcast, where we talk track and field your questions. I'm your host, Tori West. Let's get this show started.
It's a monster throw, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Bannister.
Away, Freeman out well. A magnificent performance. What a legend. What a champion.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Athletics Up North podcast. This week, our special guest is Robbie Crowther. Welcome, Robbie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I've tried in the past to do introductions for our guests, but I usually am pretty bad at it. So can you please introduce yourself, who you are, your history in athletics, and what you do now?
Yeah, I'm Robbie Crowther, former long jumper, and based myself all up through North Queensland. Started there and went down to camp with the IAAF. That's pretty much my life. I never grew up with track and field. I mainly played footy and all other sports. I only did track and field just through school, so I never knew what the AOS was all growing up.
Nice. So from doing a bit of research beforehand, you from, is it Blackwater? Like,
yeah, a little town called Bluff, which is 200 k's west of Rockhampton. Population of about, I think back then was about 400 or 500 people. And primary school was only about 42 kids, and high school in Blackwater was 20 k's away. So we had to catch a bus every morning to Blackwater So I did year 9, 8, 9 and 10 there. And then I moved on to Bowen and did year 11 and 12 there. And that's when pretty much I got noticed at North Queensland doing just track and field, just through the school. Did a little bit of athletics because Mum did it, so she made us join. And I think Gary Cairns, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today, pretty much.
Yeah, we both have a commonality there. He was my first coach as well, so really good guy. So that's interesting. So grade 11 and 12 is where you really started to thrive. So was that your first experience with athletics? Like before that, were you just doing footy or?
Yeah, so I pretty much made Capricornia like touch football, made NQ volleyball, NQ touch. Pretty much did every sport I wanted to do, and just wanted to do it through school. So, and I just wanted to play rugby league once I finished school. The old man said, "Give track and field a go," and that's when Gary rang me and said, "Oh," and then also rang Craig Hilliard at the time and said, "There's a kid from Bowen who's jumped 1450 in the triple jump with no training, and he could easily go 15 metres with a bit of training." And then he said, "Oh, well, give him a call." And we drove up, and I think it was 2004, Craig's athletes never made 2004 Olympics, Athens. So he had a bit of free time to go around the country and do a little bit of talent scouting. And that's when, I went up to Townsville and went up and did some basic drills, some pop-ups. And then I made Queensland team that year. Went down to Sydney, but I got invited down to the OES with Julius Noam Bain and Amanda West back then, a week before Nationals, and come out and did a metre PB in the triple. And went 15.53 and did a 30 centimetre PB in the long off a week's training.
Far out. This is so interesting because Gary's mentioned things, but I'm actually hearing it from you now. Like, wow, this is way back before I was, into athletics. But it's interesting to hear your story because I know Julius, and I also know of Amanda West because she had quite a few records in the jumps back in the day. Yeah. So was that after high school that you went up to Townsville to train with Gary, or during high school still?
No, so Gary only I never really met Gary. I knew Julius. I never really got coached by Gary at all, but he just was obviously good friends with Craig and knew Craig, and obviously had athletes that he coached like Jared Bannister and all those kind of guys. So he's the one that pretty much noticed me and passed me on to Craig. And then pretty much from 2004, after that Sydney Nationals, I got invited down to the AIS on just a 4-month trial scholarship. And rest is pretty much history. I went down there for 4 months, come back home for a bit, and Tim Paravicini was trying to do a qualify for world champs in 2005. And and Craig rang me up at the time and said, "Oh, can you just compete against Timmy and give him a bit of competition just so he can, try and qualify for the World in 2005 for Helsinki." And I come out and end up jumping 7.76, I think it was, and Whitney, did another 40 centimetre PB or so, and then I got invited back to the RAS on full scholarship, but as a triple jumper, not as a long jumper.
Wow. So wait, was your preference always long jump or?
No, so I pretty much got posted as a triple jumper, but I think because of my ankle, because I never trained for triple jump, I never trained for long jump. I had the old school massive hop, land down, go as high as anything, and then have the smallest little step, and still jump 15.53. But yeah, my ankle, every time I jumped triple, it just kept blowing up. So I converted into long jump, and I just stuck with long after that.
Wow, that's crazy. So what was like that transition going from North Queensland to Canberra? Like obviously the weather is a lot different. Like how did you adjust?
Yeah, look, to be honest, it wasn't too bad. I didn't mind the Canberra winter. Some days it was, you got up and you're like, oh, I don't think I can train on this, and but you just push through. And a lot of the other athletes said if you can get through a winter session, you can get through anything. So that played a pretty big part on how to push through those hard times, and then try and get through that winter session. And most of the time a lot of time we weren't there. Sometimes we were like, once I got past that junior level, you were going overseas through that winter season, so it wasn't too bad at all.
So what was your progression then? So you jumped the 7.76, just all of a sudden, boom, right up there, anywhere near the 8 meter mark is sensational. Like, what was your next international competition? Because I noticed you won the World Uni Champs for the long jump. Like, what was your progression through to the international stage?
Yeah, so 2005 all year, I had to basically learn how to run properly because I ran like a football player, legs crossing over every which way, and so 2005 was pretty much learning how to run and getting used to the sessions. I was doing 2 200s, 2 180s, 2 160s, 2 140s, 2 120s, trying to get through a session. I think the first week I couldn't get through, I reckon, about 460 meters. I actually felt pretty sick. So I had nothing in there. And then I went on to qualify for Commonwealth Games in 2006, but unfortunately missed out that year. And then I had World Juniors as a backup in 2006. So Craig's like, all right, mate, just don't worry about that Com Games, and then I did, because I jumped 7.99 that year, and he said, all right, we'll just focus on World Juniors. And it was August, I think it was. Yeah, August Juniors was. And so he's like, we had a couple of months up our sleeves to get back into training and go from there. And I had a little bit of a incident where I was running late for gym one day, and I was running down the stairs and missed one and tore some ligaments in my ankle. And the coach saw me outside of the office and said, oh, mate, what are you doing? Because I'd like to joke around with him a fair bit. He goes, what are you doing? I said, no, I'm going to the hospital. And he goes, what for? He goes, no, come on, Drew. Let's go, mate. You just stop mucking around. I said, no, fell down the stairs and I've done something to my ankle. And he's like, oh. So, got scans and, had to go on pretty much a whole month rehab course for that. And then did the rehab. Didn't do all of it. I probably skipped a couple of days or maybe a week or so. And then, come out and won World Juniors. I was ranked, I think, number 2 at World Juniors that year, or 3 maybe. And, come out on my 5th jump to jump 8 metres flat with 16 centimetres spare on the board. So had a fair bit of room left. And then I won World Unis in 2007, the year after. And 2008, won national champs with a pretty crook back. I had kind of minor surgery to that. I had some nerves burnt in my back that year because my facet joint, I couldn't really stand up really straight. in my running position. So I was always kind of bent over just because all my facet joints were that blocked up. I had those released and nerves burn all through there. So that was pretty much 08. And then 09, I'm not 100% sure what happened in 09. I think I had a fair few problems that year. And then 2010 as well. I had a nerve pain in my hamstring for about, I'd say 9 to 10 months, and ran through and competed through that. And I had doctors. I was seeing a doctor every week just to try and figure out what it was. And I saw different specialists. I had other things. I had epidurals. I had everything under the sun, trying to neutralise his pain, but never went away. And had MRI scans. And I did the 2010 trials. I still qualified for Com Games, finished third that year behind Nofke and Fabrice, who jumped 878 that year. 878. I was about 5 or 6 kilos overweight as well. And then I went back to see the doctors again. And then a new doctor came through the IAAF and said, "Look, Rob, this has been going on too long." And he said, "We got to get someone to see you." So he sent me to Ian Woodgate at Sydney Hospital, who saw Nathan Deeks when he had his hamstring done, a race walker, and he found the problem straight away from my first MRI scan that was done 8 or so months ago. And he said my hamstring wasn't sliding through the sheath properly, so it felt like it was tearing the whole time when I was running.
Far out.
Yeah, it took a while. Very frustrating that no one could have find it that quick, and it gets to the head a bit. And I went through a fair bit of depression at the time as well, through 2008 and all the way through to 10. I bottled it up that much, got homesick, a fair few problems. I kind of attempted to try take my life, kind of thing, if that makes sense. Wasn't good. I was quite bad through 2008-09, and I think it kind of turned around in 2012, and then I had surgery again from tib fib when it never went, because 2011 went really well after the hamstring surgery. All the rehab went well. I jumped 805, 812, jumped heaps, over 8 meters every time. And and then 2012 went downhill. So I was looking good in the 2012 Olympic year. And then, another injury come along. So I think had a good year, bad year, good year, bad year. And then it ended up being on an Olympic year, I'd had some kind of problem.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think it's really good to hear your story, because there's a lot of athletes that can get in that same boat. It's such a hard thing when that's like your whole life revolves around that performance and your body just won't do it. Like, you just feel helpless. So like, what practical things did you do to get through that time? Because a couple of years of that serious injury, it would really weigh on you. Like, how did you get through it? Was it just good people, or?
Yeah, good people around. Also just, the physios, the doctors that were around. And, there was times where AA was sometimes good to me, sometimes not. But they said, "Oh, we'll look after you," but never got that thing. I lost, an ASICS contract after World Juniors because AIS said it wasn't enough. But I don't know how that works, so I never got that contract. I got gear from them, but I had a whole contract written up. And then that got out the window because of that. But it was just, I just stuck my head down and just kept grinding through a lot of the pain, and just said, look, I kept that dream alive for the next, world champs, or the next year was Olympics. I just kept, I'll keep going and keep grinding through. I know I was in shape. I knew I could do things that I could jump that distance, but it in the end, it just comes down to those little basic little injuries. I just push through.
Just push through. I commend that. I respect that a lot. Because it is a really tough sport. Very tough sport. It's all about those numbers and injuries. It's just so rampant. Like, you just hear the stories all the time, and like, you'd think that more people would know how to fix things and like help. Like, you're always stuck in between. Like, it's really tough to navigate. So any athletes listening that are going through a tough time and injuries, just keep pushing. Like, you'll find an answer. I know you won't find an answer, but like, just mentally, just use it as a training ground to get better, stronger, I guess. Get mentally stronger. It's because it is super tough. So 2012 Olympic trials, did you retire? When did you retire from athletics officially?
2016. So I was under Craig Hilliard for 8 years. And so after 2012, I had the surgery. With an AIS, there was no scholarships after 2013 onwards. So 2013, I got a full-time job at an Australian Indigenous Leadership Centre. And I still had the scholarship, but I was training from about 5 o'clock onwards. But I, to be honest, I never really did too much. I went into the gym, threw a bit of weights around and did a little bit of running. And then Greg Rutherford come over that year and was competing. And he come to Canberra, and we've been good mates for quite a while, which was something special for me. And he actually said, do you want to come to Phoenix, Arizona with me? And I said, look, man, I'd love to come, but for me, I can't afford that. And he goes, look, I'll pay for your flights. And I was like, and he goes, you just pay for your food and everything else. And I said, rightio, well, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, went over there for a month. It was pretty hard to tell Craig at the time, and under Dan Pfaff, and who was Greg's coach at the time. We went over there for a good month and had a good hit out, and it actually got me back into it. And then that's when I moved to Brisbane at the end of 2013. I moved up to here, and I said I reached out to Gary Bowen and said, look, Gary, I just want a bit of a change. I kind of miss Queensland, a bit of home, and I think I just needed to get away from that lifestyle down there, which I love, but I think it was time to have a bit of a change. And so I moved under Gary, and I got paid out by a few of the guys because I was quite chubby when I moved here. Linda Allen was always going, look at your cheeks, Jug, they're massive, mate. And I did under the 3 months train and trimmed down really quick, and come out and qualified for 2014 Com Games and made Glasgow. And that was probably my second Australian senior team, because I went to World Champs in 2011, and that was a proud moment. My mum and dad finally come over to watch me compete over there, and I was in good shape going over, getting into it, and I think on the second jump I blew my ankle. So
was that an ankle you've had a history with, or was it just okay?
Yeah. So it was always been there. I just caught it on the wrong takeoff, and it just went. So I couldn't. I think I took past my third, my fourth, and then try to get out of my sixth and give it a good old crack. But was in there, but it was one of those things. And then 2015 jumped again, won Australian titles, and I think I jumped 805 that year, 809 that year. Missed out on the qualifier, and then 2016 I had patella tendon problem. I went to nationals. I had a pretty crook neck. I was having spasms in my neck at nationals, and I think I jumped 760 something with spasms in my neck. So I pushed through that one.
Yeah,
that was quite painful, but I got through it. And then I knew it was time to hang up the boots and retire.
Yeah, far out. Seems like I've got to be honest, it seems like you've had a really rough time with injuries. Like, far out. I didn't even know that. Like, that's insane. Well, much respect for pushing through, because not many people, I don't think, could. But I guess there's always the question too at the end. Like, you can keep pushing, but there's that, you still got life after athletics. You want to live healthy and you don't want to be like hobbling around and whatnot. So sometimes it can be a wise decision. But despite that, you still had a great career, like Commonwealth Games, junior level, got to travel to Phoenix. Like I've seen the Phoenix stuff. Is it Altus? It's called Altus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff on online. It looks super interesting. Like it looks like a really professional environment, like like a really good experience to treat your athletics like a job, like in and out. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was good back then. I think it's definitely changed now. Steve Hook was there, Mitch was there, Fabrice was there for a bit when he changed coach. But yeah, it has changed quite a fair bit now. Dan Pfaff doesn't run as much as now than what he did back then. So, and he was good. He saw something in me, and we've kept in contact ever since. It's always good to keep in contact with those people, and I think you definitely need that change, and then that makes you get that drive back again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, what would you, when you were training in Altus, or just like at the height of your career, what was like a typical training week like? Like how often did you train? What was your weekly program?
6 days a week. So Monday was typical speed session. 60s, 70s, 80s, at 100, 95 to 100%. Tuesdays and Thursdays was gym day, and that obviously changed with when Gary as well. But Wednesdays was a speed endurance. So you might go from nothing over 200. The session I would do, the biggest sessions in the winners would be 2 200s, 2 180s, 2 160s, 2 140s, 2 120s, 2 100s. And they were killers at the time. I learnt my lessons pretty quick to not eat breakfast too early before a session or too late. So I was eating breakfast a lot earlier. Young and dumb. I was always eating about 5 minutes before I'd go to training, and then it all just comes straight back up. Yeah. And then Fridays was probably a run-up session, and then Saturday another speed endurance session. But it always changed once competitions come around. You get more in that. Monday might be a speed, Tuesday gym, Wednesday your run-ups, technical 10 stride jumps, bounding. All that comes into play again, and then Friday again another jump session, and Saturday just another tempo we kind of run sessions. So it all changed. But then Gary was a lot different. He was more technical. The speed, we never ran anything over 150. I don't think we did a lot of 120, like good hard session of over 120s. I think I got quite quick under Gary, which was very interesting. I ran a 10:50, 52, I think, under him. My PB was 10:50 in Cairns in 2007, I think it was. I ran that into a 1.5 headwind, so that was interesting. Never, we don't learn how to run in blocks or anything like that, and us long jumpers always love to run against the 100-meter runners and try and touch them up, and they don't like it. So, we like to do that. We can dabble in it. Now I dabbled in the twos every now and then, but I'd always like to sneak in a 300 here and there. I was always like, can I just run a couple of 300s, 250s? I thought it was fun. I liked a bit of the pain.
They hurt. When I made my transition from just javelin to heps, those 300s, it took a long time to build that tolerance. They just hurt like hell.
Yeah, well, we used to do I think every year we joined in with all the sprinters, everyone combined at AIS. So we did a massive bounding day, testing day. So we did bounding, 60 metres, 150, 300. And I was in with Adam Miller, Jacob McReynolds, Daniel Batman, all in line, Clinton Hill, all those guys. And we had it all timed and everything. I ran a 35-1 for a 3. I was like, oh, geez, that's all right. I'm not too bad. And and Tudor Bitter always come around and said, no, you got to do 400s. I'm like, I'm not doing 400s, mate. And I go, yeah. And he goes, you got natural ability to run a 400. I was like, I'm never going to do a 400.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. I don't train
Well,
for, mate.
if you did a 400 and you're a good jumper, I would say do a decathlon.
Yeah, well, I've thrown a jab standing. I think I went 40. I think it was about 45, 47 meters. Yeah, standing. Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. Not too bad, but I don't think to do it into a run, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I can throw a vortex 110 meters.
Far out.
So, yeah, I've always had an arm on me. And then high jump, I've jumped 2 meters in the high. I reckon I could have got higher. Pole vault would be very interesting because I've never done it. Hurdles I've done. Shot put went all right. Discus, no. I've got an idea of how to throw it, but not great. What else is in there? The 4, I could cope with it. The 15, I could cope with as well. But yeah,
1500.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I would have loved to go, but that's gone now.
Yeah. It's gone now. Now, when I said we were discussing like who our next guest was, and we're like Robbie, and I was like, okay, everyone, give me questions. The most popular question, this is like within A&Q, was your 2011 win of the sexiest man in track and field. How does that happen? And what was your reaction? Like, I didn't even know that thing existed.
No, it doesn't exist. The funny thing is, I think it was done by Sean Rowe and Jaden Russ. They stuffed around with my Wikipedia and wrote that in there. And
so it's not real.
Nah.
Oh my gosh, I knew it.
If it was real, I don't know. So I've just because you can edit it, and I'm pretty sure it was Sean Rowe and Jaden Russ, but they don't believe me. So, because I never written that in there, and I always get a bit of a laugh at it, and that's the first question that always comes up, and said, "Oh, so you got voted sexiest man in track and field in 2011?" It's a bit of a stitch up, to be honest.
Okay, I'm glad you've clarified that, and I might make this snippet for promoting this podcast because, like, that's the first thing everyone asks. I'm like, what is this? This is track and field. I've never heard of such thing. So
no, I've never heard of such thing as well. And I think I was competing in Germany one year in I think it was, when was that? 2015, and it was in a good comp, and I could kind of understand because I was speaking in German, and they were going, "Oh, this guy, sexiest man in track and field in 2011," and I could hear everyone laughing. I was like, and I was just about to take a run, and I was going, "This is a joke," and then it intimidated me, and I got a bit shy and went into my shell a little bit. And it was a bit funny at the time, but I was like, "Come on, guys, it's a live crowd because it's just Pacific long jump." So we just had a runway and then all grandstands down the side. And and I was like, "Oh, I'm just about to go, and you're telling this story." Mm-hmm. And I could understand because they were laughing. And I was like, "This is a G-up."
Far out. You know what? That'd be so annoying. But I was just thinking, how with sports performance, a big part of it is psychological warfare.
Yeah.
If you had a really big competitor, you could just change their Wikipedia, get some news circulating about them. It's one way to get off game. I won't do that, but the seed has been planted.
Yeah.
Now, you're a role model for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait community. You said you work in that, and obviously something you're proud of. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the world at the moment, and it's been like a broad and relevant topic. Like, what sort of advice do you have to any young athlete coming up through with that going on, like with their mindset and just what's your comments on that? Because I'm really interested to know what you have to say here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Things like I became an ambassador with them when I was competing. I think it was from 2012 onwards, pretty much, and I've always wanted to give back, and every time I go out to those communities, and then I'd like to chat to the kids, and just I said, there's more more out there in the world, and more opportunities for these young kids, non-Indigenous as well. To get out of their communities and also talk to them about the influence of being peer pressured as well. I said, you've got a voice to say no. If it's towards any kind of drugs or alcohol or anything like that. Because I kind of grew up into that as well. I was always that person that just said, "Nah, I can't do that," and I always try and give that information back. And if these kids want to talk about something, then find someone. If it's a family friend or their mum and dad or anything like that, their cousin or something. Speak up and actually talk if they're going through anything. And I think that's the main part of what I try and give out. If that makes sense, and then try and give back to athletics. But I think it's it's just what I want to do, and not just say give back to AA or anything like that. It's just something I want to do and see more Indigenous kids come through, and because there's some great talent out there, and it's a shame they get poached by football. I know there's more money, but
football is a more viable career, for being honest. But that saying, the experience of athletics, I think you can't replicate it in football.
No, exactly right. I know that now, and I just wanted, like I told you earlier, I just wanted to play football and just be with my mates. So looking now, I can't. No one can ever take away. I've won a world junior title and world uni title and 3 Australian titles. So competed at the highest level and travelled the world for it. So and met some great people on the way. So through the AIS, I'm the guys, the basketballers, the soccer players, and all that. They're half of them in the NBA, half of them all through the European League. So you can never take that away. And that's something I say to them as well. You get these opportunities to go around and travel the world, which football you don't really get to do. Unless you're soccer or it
varies. And who was like the biggest influence on your career in athletics or in general?
It's a tough one. I've never had any role models because I never really followed the sport growing up. I'd just have to say Craig Hilliard, one of my old coaches. He was always there for me, always looked out for me. And then obviously my parents as well. If it wasn't for Dad to say give it a go, I wouldn't have done it. So I think those my parents and the family as well. Yeah.
Good answer. Nice. Well, I think I covered most of the main questions, like about your career and history. And I personally been inspired by your story as well. I have a lot of respect for pushing through things because it can be hard. But we'll move into some quick fire questions now. Yeah. So you can answer these as long or short as you'd like, but they're just some lighthearted ones. Yeah. So where has been your favorite place in the world to compete?
I'd probably say Sweden at Stockholm. Did my PB there at the Diamond League in 2012. So the atmosphere there, and because it looks like a castle from the outside, so you're competing inside in the castle. So I think that was probably my favourite place.
Nice. And pre-competition, what sort of food did you eat? Did you have like a superstitious meal routine?
Oh, not really. In Australia, it was probably maybe a gnocchi or something like that. But when you travel in the world, you don't really get that kind of food cooked for you. So it can definitely change. Yeah, or a steak and some veg and some pasta.
And what was your favourite training session out of all the ones you did?
I didn't mind the longer running kind of stuff, the lactic kind of sessions for a jumper anyway.
There's a good feeling you get about an hour after it finishes, eh? Once it's all passed out, it's a pretty good high.
Yeah, it is a good high. Walking around is not very fun when you've got lactic running through the legs.
Yeah, nah, definitely not. What was your favourite venue to train at or compete at in North Queensland?
Oh, well, there's not too many tracks in North Queensland.
There's 3 now.
Yeah, I know. Mackay has one, don't they?
Yeah, they got a new one. Yeah.
I never really trained. I did the A&Q camps. I'd probably say I'll probably just go with Townsville. Oh, actually, no, Barlow Park's pretty good, actually. No, I like Barlow Park.
Barlow Park?
In Cairns, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Actually, I don't think I've competed at Barlow for ages.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they got some new equipment there. I think they got a lot of the Commonwealth Games stuff, so it's pretty fresh.
Yeah, which is good. I think a good chunk of it got spread out through Queensland, which is good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And finally, what did you have like a pump up song? Like what sort of music did you listen to leading up to a comp or during?
Oh, I've always listened to who was it? It was R&B. I know that much. Yeah, it was Dr. Dre and all that kind of stuff.
Classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
And a bit of MJ in there as well.
Nice. Good answer. Very good answer there. Classic. That means you got good taste in music.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff nowadays is like all this techno stuff. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
A lot of answers.
Nah, I couldn't do that. You could never do that. So every time I went overseas, you play the old school R&B stuff. And all the Americans are like, oh, I love what he's listening to. And they're all just joining in. So just join them with the crew.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have this question on the question list, but I'm actually interested. Do you do any training nowadays? Like, do you keep fit in any way, or like what do you do?
Nah, I think work keeps me fit. Like, cause I'm a landscape construction worker now, and I'm pushing barrows of concrete, lifting sleepers. So I'm pretty much doing gym all day, every day. And, the last time I had a run, I went out with TD Anang, Naz brother, and had a run with him. And I think he was doing 8 or 10 100 or 9 100s, I think it was. And we were running about 80%. And I was like, I'll join in with him because he was coming back from a hamstring injury. And I did 8 really well. And then the 9th one, I think about 10 bears jumped on me. And it hurt. And I think one of the coaches, Andrew Lullum at the time, was like, I thought you tore a hamstring. I was like, nah, it was just lactic. And I was pretty much running backwards.
Far out.
And I had some young kids there, like they were telling me, "Oh, watch how he runs." I'm like, "Don't watch me how to run on this last one." I've been running a while, so I want to get back into doing some kind of stuff. Well, we've got a fair hill at the back of the yard, and I think the wife wants to get into a bit more exercise once little girl Cleo is a bit more older, and we got a bit of a gym downstairs, so we can do a bit more stuff. Yeah, I want to try and get running, but I want to get back into playing touch football again as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it, and I hope whoever's listening, you found value in it. And if you are a kid, just there's a lot of opportunity in athletics, and even if you're from a small town like Bowen or what was it, Bluff?
Yeah, Bluff.
Yeah. There's you stick at it, the doors will open. So, yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Tori.